March the 4th, the second day of the Waterloo Cup at Lydiate. Lydiate is an oasis of green when it's not covered with snow in the acres of black plough that surround the running grounds. It's designed to test the dog's stamina rather than the speed. The cars were slow arriving due to slippery road conditions, but the bookmakers were on time, and Crafty Drive On was the 3-to-1 favourite. Riat Swank was next at 5-to-1, then 6-to-5 and My Bonnie Prince at 6-to-1, Chagall at 7s and the rest at 10s. First in slips was to be Milton Emu on the red collar, who'd been out for 64 seconds, who was due to meet Mousetail on the white collar, who'd been out for 75 seconds. They were virtually level on handicap.
Go on. Go on. Go on.
Mousetail on the white collar drew clear to lead by 2.5 lengths. Milton Emu was always working just the sharper, but in a 58-second course, Mousetail, the early leader, was the winner. The second brace in the Cup were to be My Bonnie Prince on the red collar and Hot Pot on the white collar. My Bonnie Prince had 42 seconds coursing, whereas Hot Pot had been out for 116 seconds. My Bonnie Prince was a hot favourite to win this course. Behind a particularly strong hare, My Bonnie Prince led by 2 lengths. He also came round the sharper and scored the next few points. Strong hare, racing away all the time, gave Hot Pot no chance to retrieve the situation, and after 43 seconds the hare left the field at the top of the crowd, leaving My Bonnie Prince on the red collar and convincing winner. Next in slips was Coley on the white collar, who'd only been out for 48 seconds. The slipper falls here but still gets them away beautifully. Coley on the white collar had been out for 48 seconds and 65 on the red collar for 69 seconds. Coley led by 2 lengths, confirming the handicap. The hare swung round towards the white collar, as they so often do at Lydiate, and gave Coley every chance of scoring the points. With this course lasting 43 seconds, Coley was now coming into the reckoning as a possible winner of the Waterloo Cup. The fourth pair brought together sooner or later on the red collar, who'd been out for 79 seconds, and Cassiopeia, who'd been out for 128 grueling seconds at the Withens. Sooner or later on the red collar was thought sure to lead, and duly did, leading Cassiopeia by 2.5 lengths. Cassiopeia had already turned over the lead at the Withens, and she badly needed a long course here, but she picks up Toulouse. Sooner or later was the winner of a very brief 14-second course. Hares were coming through quickly now. Next in slips was Timworth Tom on the red collar, who'd been out for 109 seconds. He met Just Beyond, who'd been out for 91. Timworth Tom, the best fancied of the English dogs remaining in the stake, led by a length and a half, and things looked to be going his way. But Just Beyond is a rare worker, and with the hare as often favouring the white collar rather than the red, Just Beyond needed no extra excuse to wrench this course back from Timworth Tom.
Come on, Arise! Run! Run!
Hard though the red collar tried, the hare was always going the other way, and all he was able to do after the first turn was to chase to cover. Just Beyond on the white collar was the winner, having overturned the lead in a 58-second plus trial. A fascinating course was to next follow. Alveston Donny on the red collar had impressed everyone as a smart puppy, and he met the favourite Crafty Drive On the white collar. Alveston Donny was away first, but Crafty Drive On gradually drew up and up to just get in front, but she steadied fatally, allowing Alveston Donny to score the vital early points. He then flecked the hare crafty drive on picked up, and that was that. 15 seconds and the favourite was out. React Swank on the white collar had gone into everybody's notebooks in the first 2 rounds. She'd been out for 56 seconds, and she led by 4 lengths C. Bell, who'd been out for 102 seconds. React Swank flecked, allowing C. Bell to pull down and end the course after 17 seconds, React Swank being a convincing winner. The final brace saw Chagall on the white collar, who'd been out for 104 seconds, against Roger's sister on the red collar, who'd been out for 138. Chagall led enormous 8 lengths, but Roger's sister was injured and cramped even before reaching the hare. This allowed Chagall to work on his own, and he pursued the hare for the rest of the course, unchallenged for 42 seconds. That completed the 3rd round of the Waterloo Cup. A huge crowd was now installed, and we commenced the 2nd round of the Waterloo Cup purse. This is for dogs beaten in the 1st round of the Cup itself. The 1st round of the purse had been run the previous day. First in slips was West End on the red collar, who'd been out for 87 seconds, and Fantasy World on the white, who'd been out for 104. Fantasy World defied the handicap by leading 2 lengths on an inside, the hare again swinging to the white collar. West End is well capable of turning over a lead, but on this occasion the hare was far too strong for him to use her, and he was only able to score a few fairly weak points before the hare left the field after 55 seconds coursing, leaving Fantasy World on the white collar, the winner of last year's Barbican Cup, as the winner. The 2nd brace in the Waterloo purse was subjected to a real Lydiate trial. Market Exchange on the red collar had been out for 93 seconds, and he met Curramore Lap, who'd been out for 77 seconds, who was on the white collar. Market Exchange led by 2 lengths. But there was 118 seconds work to come. Was never in the slightest danger, but she just took a while to leave the field, neither dog really being able to press her. Curramore Lap had virtually enough at this stage. Although he did just chip in to chase the hare for the last few 100 yards. To no one's surprise, the winner was Market Exchange on the red collar. Next in slips was to be Earl Marshall on the red collar, who'd had 102 seconds coursing the previous day, who met Lollipop on the white collar, who'd had 82 seconds. Earl Marshall defied the handicap to lead by 3.5 lengths. A meritorious lead. He struck at the hare, which allowed his opponent a chance, but a very strong hare only allowed herself to be used a couple more times in a course lasting 44 seconds.
No. Go in, zoom in.
Wise Bimbo on the red collar had been out for 103 seconds, and Skipper's Jazz on the white collar had been out for 153 seconds, completed the first half of the 2nd round of the Waterloo Cup purse. Wise Bimbo on the red collar had been slowly away in some of his courses, but he made no mistake here, leaving the fast Skipper's Jazz by 3 lengths. Tricky hare, always wanting to leave the field on the crowd side, took the dogs round and round the cameraman 3 times, so that in the end he got so tangled up we lose the end of the course.
They're holding it, they're holding it.
Skipper's Jazz also got in a bit of a mess. And in the end, the red collar, Wise Bimbo, was the winner after 65 seconds work. Spearmint on the white collar, who'd been out for 84 seconds, then met High Wind on the red collar, who'd been out for 127. But High Wind had had a punishing solo bye, and no one was particularly surprised to see Spearmint lead by 2 lengths. The hare whipped out through the gate, which is left open and clear to allow for such an eventuality, and the course ended after 31 seconds with Spearmint on the white collar being the winner. 2 English pace merchants met in the next round when Royal Mister on the red collar, who'd been out for 102 seconds at the Withins, met Big Samson, the 100-pound dog, who'd been out for 77 seconds and was running on the white collar. Although the hare favoured Big Samson, Royal Mister did well to lead by 2 lengths. He also defied the handicap. The hare took them up and down the enormous crowd a couple of times before leaving the field at the top end, with Royal Mister on the red collar being a convincing winner. The next pair were Bristol Duffer on the red collar, who'd had that fall on the run-up in the first round of the Waterloo Cup. He'd been out for 87 seconds. And he met Linton Texas on the white collar, who'd been out for 61 seconds. Bristol Duffer led a long 5 lengths.
Down.
Despite the hare swinging round to the white collar.
Down.
The hare quickly went out through the crowd, but the dogs got a few more seconds coursing on the plough the other side. They were estimated to have coursed for 54 seconds. The last pair were Carlton on the white collar, who'd been out for 68 seconds, who met Serene Master on the red collar, who'd been out for 90. Carlton led by 2 lengths. Well known as the best working dog in England, the bookmakers might as well have paid out now. Serene Master is trained by Bill Beaton, whose dogs are known for their working ability. But even so, Carlton hardly allowed him to score a point. After 51 seconds of close work, the hare left the field at the top corner Suff, seeing Carlton a convincing winner.
Was it right? Just on that one? No, Carlton's there.
The judge took the opportunity to change into his red coat as the sun had now come out. The crowd by now was enormous and was the whole length, a half mile it stretched, the whole length of the nominator's side of the car park. The Waterloo Plate was started with a bye when G. Sharp on the red collar enjoyed a bye on the withdrawal of Moonlight Jess. His trainer Lorraine Sarid elected to run him solo. A brave decision really on Lydiate. But she was proved right as G. Sharp got off with a 53-second course. The Waterloo Plate is for the dogs beaten in the second round of the Waterloo Cup. Another bye in the second course of the Waterloo Plate when local suitor on the red collar had a bye on the withdrawal of Secure Peter. Mrs. Shannon elected to run a bye dog. The bye dog led by a couple of lengths. And a strong hare was probably unlucky to be pulled down by the white collar, allowing local suitor off with an 18-second course. Royal Meningra on the red collar was the next in slips with Kerry Model on the white. Royal Meningra, who'd been out for 43 seconds, led Kerry Model on the white collar by a length and a half. Both dogs battled on gamely, but this hare was always cruising. If you notice, she's got her ears up half the time and was never in the slightest danger. After 93 seconds, she left the field, leaving Royal Meningra on the red collar a good winner. Brandside on the red collar was next in slips. He got the kind of bye that dogs and trainers have nightmares.
About 5 years old.
They ran a bye dog with him. He'd only been out for 28 seconds the previous day, but he got some bucketing this time. The hare appeared to be living dangerously at one point in the middle of the field, but it wasn't for very long, and she exacted fearful revenge. This course wore on for 126 seconds. The hare left the field twice and came back in twice. And at the end of the course, she received enormous cheers and claps from an appreciative crowd, which I suspect did not include Brandside or his trainer. Everyone thought the course must be over now. She went out of the field and then popped back in again. She then thought she'd leave at the top of the field. But changed her mind again. In the end, poor Brandside cried enough. The next brace were away before the cameraman had finished filming the last course, and Glatton General on the white collar, who'd been out for 49 seconds, had led Blackwater Swift, who'd been out for 51 seconds, by 2.5 lengths. These two fast dogs just swapped points behind a quick hare. They got 50 seconds worth of coursing, but the lead was decisive, and Glatton General was the winner. Two more courses remained in the Waterloo Plate. The next saw Chroma Topaz on the red collar meet Arabian Pershing on the white collar. Chroma Topaz appeared short a lead, but just steadied, allowing Arabian Pershing to shoot up for the initial points. Arabian Pershing coursed wildly early on, allowing Chroma Topaz to knock off the initial advantage in a comparatively short time. The hare left the field after about 45 seconds coursing, but they got another 15 or 20 seconds out in the country. The Waterloo Plate was the first round was then brought to a conclusion when Linton Missouri on the red collar, who'd been out for 56 seconds the first day, ran a solo bye. and was rewarded by 106 seconds hard toil before the hare was to leave the field. By now it was a beautiful day. The marshals are just visible in the background, and they'd been called in to join the crowd. Once again, the crowd was a 25-year record. The only drama of the day being the Irish buses getting stuck on some pretty precarious-looking ditches on their way down to the coursing field. While Linton Missouri was getting run ragged, the Waterloo Cup dogs were called up again for the 4th round of the Waterloo Cup. By this stage, the Waterloo Cup was beginning to look intriguing. Just Beyond and Chagall were the worst handicapped on 140 seconds. Next was Mousetail on 133, and the best handicapped of all was Bonnie Prince on only 85. The first race brought together Mousetail on the red collar, who'd been out for 133 seconds, and My Bonnie Prince on the white collar, who'd been out for 85. There were hares running about everywhere.
Yeah.
Behind a good hare, Mousetail gradually drew clear to lead by Bonnie Prince by 2 lengths, a good effort, defying the handicap. She showed much the better speed, too, between the turns. And in a 59-second course, her early points advantage was never in doubt. The next pair saw Coley on the red collar, who'd been out for 91 seconds, meet sooner or later on the white collar, who'd been out for 93. These two were dead level. As we've seen, the white collar is often an advantage at Lydiate, and so it proved with this hare. But Coley on the red collar did a very good job indeed to lead by a half a length on the outside. He looked about 2 lengths the faster. A strong hare took them out at the end of the crowd after only 40 seconds coursing, and Coley appeared well placed for tomorrow. It was now a beautiful mild day when Just Beyond on the red collar, who'd been out for 149 seconds, met Alveston Donny on the white, who'd been out for 81 seconds. This was the course of the meeting. Alveston Donny on the white collar led by 3 lengths. His superior speed enabled him to get the next point. The dogs then collided. Alveston Donny stumbling allowed Just Beyond in to set up a fine sequence. She kept chipping away at the point. Alveston Donny then got back in to just break up a sequence before Just Beyond totted them up again. Galveston Donny then got in again to break the sequence. Before Just Beyond rallied. Once again, Donny got in to break the sequence. Until he couldn't go any more. Just Beyond, however, jumped the ditch and set off for some more. They'd coursed for 149 seconds on the field, and Just Beyond on the red collar had overturned the lead. A fascinating course next followed. React Swank had been going very fast on the red collar and had only coursed for 73 seconds. The white collar had been out for 195. However, as had been foretold by the Irish pundits, React Swank goes slower as the stake goes on. Chagall had maintained his speed and therefore was able to lead by half a length. Although React Swank might have been losing her speed, she hadn't been losing her coursing ability, and she swapped points, but in a 49-second course it wasn't sufficient. And Chagall on the white collar was the winner. The Irish are always well known for picking up their dogs smartly. Look at this for some quick footwork by the pickers up. They're in the right place, the opposite side of the bank, and they scoop their dogs up, no trouble at all. The white collar Chagall was the winner of that 49-second course, which concluded the Waterloo Cup for the second day. We then went on to the third round of the Waterloo Purse, which was now reaching an interesting stage. Fantasy World on the red collar here had been out for 159 seconds and Market Exchange for 211. Fantasy World with the best of the handicap, led by 2 lengths. But Fantasy World was always going the faster. However, this course will principally be remembered for the enormous leap by the hare as it goes up the bank at the end of a 58-second course. Fantasy World was a convincing winner, but just watch this hare. The second race in the Purse brought together Earl Marshall on the red, who'd been out for 146 seconds, and Wise Bimbo on the white, who'd been out for 168. Earl Marshall led by 2 lengths. Both dogs came quickly round on the hare. Who was never going strongly. And after 24 seconds, Wise Bimbo picked up to lose. Earl Marshall on the red collar being the winner of a 24-second trial. The third brace were Spearmint on the red collar, who'd been out for 115 seconds, and Royal Mister on the white, who'd been out for 156 seconds. Royal Mister on the favoured white collar overcame the time disadvantage to lead by 2.5 lengths. Another strong hare was always making life difficult, however, for Spearmint, and she could never get close enough to it to score the requisite points. Note the huge crowd stretching right the way down the field. After 70 seconds work, Royal Mister on the white collar was the winner. The final course in the Purse brought Carlton, the grand working dog, who'd been out for 117 seconds. He was on the white collar, against Bristol Duffer on the red collar, who'd been out for 141 seconds. This was another course for the crowd. Bristol Duffer on the red collar led Carlton, who's not renowned for his speed, by no less than 5 lengths. But what Carlton is renowned for is his working ability. and he just knocks the points off here as if he's playing ping pong. Bristol Duffer does nothing wrong, but Carlton just keeps taking that hair away. Strangely, for such a good working dog, he seldom kills. And even here, where he gets a chance in the reeds, he flecks and lets go. Carlton on the white collar was the winner of a 51-second course, having overturned a 5-length lead in that time.
This has been again a marvellous day's coursing here at Lydiate. It's barely 1 o'clock in the afternoon and the whole programme has been safely completed. The running has been full of shocks. First of all, Crafty Drive On, the overnight 3-1 against favourite, has now disappeared as if she'd never been there. And yet, I should be fascinated to see, in fact, the film again, to see just how close it was between her and Alveston Donny. Then it seemed that React Swank was the natural favourite to go through and win the Waterloo Cup. But she too, after being narrowly but convincingly led by Chagall, she too is now gone. Chagall, who seems to be improving with every course, is now an even money favourite to take the Cup. And yet, to me, it seems that the Cup has never been more open. Just Beyond, who meets Chagall tomorrow in the semi-finals, has been so hard run that one can really give her little chance of reaching the final stage. But at the top of the card, who can tell which will win between Coley and Mousetail? Mousetail, now a third-season bitch, has been going as fast as ever, but she's not a bitch who's known greatly for her powers of stamina. And Coley, the very little considered dog from Newmarket, he seems to be going from strength to strength, and we don't really know everything about him yet. It seems to me totally wide open and all to play for tomorrow at the Witham.
Four dogs were now left in the Bernard Barry Waterloo Cup. Mousetail, the third-season black bitch, owned by Mr. and Mrs. Michael Collins, by Duffer's Ranger and of Little Shoe. Coley, the second-season red fawn dog by Timworth Edward and of Cider Without, owned by Simon Taylor and David Midwood and trained by Charlie Howard. Just Beyond, the second-season brindle bitch by Ballybeg Sport out of Daybreak, owned and trained by Mr. and Mrs. Jim Brodie. And Chagall, a second-season fawn dog by Duffer's Ranger out of Smoky Flavour, owned by Mr. Ernest Smith and trained by Joe McKenna in Ireland. The bookmakers bet even money Chagall, 2-1 Coley, 3-1 Mousetail, and 5-1 Just Beyond, who've been very hard run. Gary Kelly walked over to the Shy, and we commenced with the Waterloo Plate, the second round. First in slips was G Sharp on the red, who'd been out for 86 seconds, and met Local Suitor on the white, who'd been out for 60 seconds. Local Suitor came from behind to lead by a length and a half. Neither dogs are full behind a hare, so the lead was decisive, and the white collar Local Suitor was the winner of a 44-second course.
Quite right. So much for your tip, sir. So much for your tip. Right. But the opposition is it now?
The second brace in the Waterloo Cup Plate were Royal Meningra on the red collar, who'd been out for 136 seconds, and Poor Brandside on the white collar, who'd been out for 154 seconds, and had endured an enormous bye at Lydiate. Royal Meningra led by 3.5 lengths. Brandside did his best, but it was all one way in a 36-second course, and Royal Meningra on the red collar was an easy winner.
Yeah, printed everything
The third race in the plate saw Glatton General on the red collar, who'd been out for 99 seconds, run against Linton Missouri on the white collar, who'd been out for 162 seconds. The very pacey Glatton General, who'd been so unlucky on the first day, led by an enormous 7-length lead. He flashed by. But Linton Missouri picked up for him and ended the course after only 22 seconds. Glatton General now appeared well placed.
Not really, no.
The second round of the plate was brought to a conclusion when Chroma Topaz on the red collar ran a bye.
Oh, he's flicked, hasn't he?
Chroma Topaz had been out for 95 seconds previously and added another 52 seconds here. It was a bitterly cold day with a steady drizzle falling, but despite that, an enormous last day crowd, because they only had 15 or 16 courses to watch, an enormous last day crowd of over 2,500 people had assembled on the bank.
They never seem to
The
turn.
Waterloo Cup semi-finalists were now brought across to slipper Gary Kelly. Mousetail on the red collar had been out for 192 seconds, and Coley on the white collar had been out for 132 seconds. Coley was to be the favourite for this course. The hare came on the slipper's left and always appeared slightly to favour turning left. Coley burst from slips, but Mousetail gradually drew up as her part pace began to show. She led by half a length. Coley now needed a long course, but he picked up and killed, leaving Mousetail well placed for the final after only 13 seconds. The second pair of finalists were just beyond on the red collar, who'd been out for over 288 seconds, and Chagall on the white collar, who'd been out for 195. Chagall on the white needed to set up a big lead to show he was still going fast, but just beyond seemed to be getting him towards the end of the run-up. Chagall led by 2.5 lengths, but just beyond, nothing if not a worker. And to enormous English cheers, just beyond started to knock off the points. But the English-owned, Irish-trained Chagall kept nicking in for the odd point here and there. And after 37 seconds, there wasn't enough time for just beyond, and Chagall was the winner. We now reach the semi-finals of the Waterloo Purse for those beaten in the first round. Fantasy World on the red collar had 219 seconds against Earl Marshall on the white collar's 270. Earl Marshall overcame the handicap disadvantage and led by 3 lengths. He also scored every point in a 28-second course. The other semi-final was likely to prove more interesting. Royal Mister had been out for 226 seconds, but Carlton had been out for 168. Carlton, renowned for his work, the course is never won until the flag's pulled. Royal Mister led by 3 lengths. But Carlton was unlucky in that this was one of the hares favouring coming over to the left-hand side of the field and towards the bookmakers. Before Carlton could start to use the hare had run into the crowd, and the course ended, leaving the red collar, Royal Mister, the winner of a 29-second course. The first semi-final of the Waterloo Cup plate was unsatisfactory. Local suitor on the red collar had been out for 104 seconds, was unsighted, leaving slips. This allowed Royal Meninga, had been out for 172 seconds and was running on the white collar, to score the vital initial points. Although the course was to last 49 seconds, local suitor could never do enough to offset this disadvantage, and the hare raced back and out over the nominators' car park.
out the wire, isn't it?
The next pair stood in slips for fully 35 minutes before the hare came. When it did, Glatton General on the red collar, who'd been out for 121 seconds, led Chroma Topaz, who'd been out for 147 seconds and was running on the white collar by 4 lengths. As if this long delay wasn't enough, the hare went right the way back. And the course lasted for 102 seconds. Glatton General would therefore appear likely to be under considerable disadvantage in the final when he was to meet Royal Meningra. For although the two dogs had coursed for roughly the same amount of time, Royal Meningra had only had 49 seconds in his semi-final and had run half an hour earlier than Glatton General, who'd had 102 seconds in his semi-final. Things looked bleak for Glatton General as he ran back after the hare into the beat.
Well, we now have all Isle of Wight final between Mousetail, owned and trained by Michael and June Collins on the one hand, and Ernest Smith Chagall, trained in Ireland by Germ McKenna. Mousetail did marvellously well to get up from behind, to beat Coley, and also to beat the handicap. But Chagall was again impressive, and as far as pace was concerned, even though just beyond almost outworked him in that average course in front of the sub. And so it looks now as if Chagall will lead to win the Waterloo Cup.
The final of the Waterloo Purse was therefore the first of the 3 finals to be run. Earl Marshall on the red collar had been out for 298 seconds, and Royal Mister on the white had been out for 255 seconds. Royal Mister was away first, but Earl Marshall gradually drew up to lead meritoriously by a length on a slight curving outside. The hare went back towards the beat almost immediately, and this always gives the slower dog, or the dog that was led, a chance to overturn the lead. But Earl Marshall kept to his task well. His trainer Charlie Howe could be seen running towards him. And although Royal Mister battled on gamely throughout the course, it was the red collar Earl Marshall who was the winner of a 59 seconds course. Earl Marshall is owned by Mrs. Diana Ellis and Mr. Richard Magill and is trained by Charlie Howard at Middleton, near King's Lynn in Norfolk. The final of the Waterloo Plate, the dogs beaten in the second round, lay between Glatton General on the white collar, who'd been out for 223 seconds, and Royal Meningra on the red, who'd been out for 221. Roy Marshall and his daughter had been unlucky in the other final with Royal Mister. Royal Meningra, a brother, now set about trying to retrieve the situation. Royal Meningra was the favourite, but Glatton General burst from slips, once again showing his enormous speed in the early stages. He looked likely to be headed when a gentle inside began to favour him. He then pulled clear for the last strides to score by 2 lengths. This hare kept racing forward and denied Royal Meningra any chance of retrieving the situation. For the second time in the day, the Marshalls were beaten in a final, and Glatton General, owned and trained by Snowy Crowson, was the winner of the Waterloo Plate. Many would say he was unlucky not to win the Waterloo Cup. Loudly clapped by an appreciative crowd, the finalists for the 143rd running of the Waterloo Cup came onto the Widdins. Their markings were taken by Alan Lunn and Richard Clark, the slip stewards. Germ McKenna's son led Chagall, and Michael Collins had the lead for Mousetail. Chagall was favourite for the final. He was to run on the white collar and had been out for 232 seconds. Mousetail on the red collar had been out for 205 seconds. Both the dogs were owned by members of the Isle of Wight Coursing Club, and both dogs were by that brilliant young sire, Duffer's Ranger. The photographers hurried up the field to obtain the best vantage point. To enormous cheers, Mousetail burst away in front and drew further and further clear to lead by 4 lengths. She flecked the hare, allowing Chagall a chance to get in. Chagall cut the next turn well to give himself 2 more halves. But Mousetail swung in now and drove the hare to cover, being a convincing winner of the Waterloo Cup. Brian Diverley, who bred her, ran out to receive the winning flag as a memento from Judge Ronnie Mills, which he handed to Michael Collins.
Thank you all very, very much indeed for coming. We had record crowds, a marvellous atmosphere, and I think a tremendous meeting, and the Waterloo Cup Committee have done it for you. And if you look round the ring, you'll see the other people, the unsung heroes. They don't see much coursing, but without them the meeting probably couldn't be run. The Waterloo Cup marshals, all of whom have given up their time. Thank you very, very much indeed. And probably the least rewarded of all, the police. Thank you very, very much indeed, gentlemen. And Captain John Barrow, very, very kindly, has gone round and organised a collection for Stuart Wilcock, and I don't know how much is there, but he's earned every single penny of it. Thank you very, very much indeed, Stuart. And we hope you'll pass a bit of it on to Sam, Stuart. And now we come to the presentations, and this year the semi-finalists of the Waterloo Cup also collect, but first we'll deal with the Waterloo Purse. We have the connections and the dog forward, please. Earl Marshall. The winner of the Waterloo Purse. The set of crystal glasses with the Orcar motif on it, and Mrs. Ellis and Mr. Mago coming forward. Many congratulations. And to help celebrate, a bottle of champagne from the Scarisbrick Hotel, who's had the most tiring week of the year. The Irish contingent never went to bed at all, as far as I can make out. And then the Waterloo Plate was won by that very good greyhound, Glatton General, owned by Mr. Crowson, and
well done.
hold it there, Mr. Crowson, your photographs wanted. And now, what have always been very much unsung heroes are the beaten semi-finalists in the Waterloo Cup. And it's wonderful to see these people getting a presentation. Simon Taylor, we coursed on his land at Dullingham, and Jim and Betty Brody ran Huntingdon so well. Many congratulations to you. Thank you. And now we come to the Waterloo Cup. As usual, plenty of Irish influence, but this time the smallest coursing club in England, lately re-affiliated to the National Coursing Club, the Isle of Wight, has dominated the proceedings. And the runner-up was Chagall, owned by Mr. E.P. Smith and trained by Joe McKenna, Chagall. There's a beautiful plate there with Master McGrath on it. Would you hold the plate, Mr. Smith, so they can have a good look at it and a good look at you? Isle of Wight coursing is going to be pretty competitive next year by the look of it. And ladies and gentlemen, this year the Waterloo Cup is back for record prize money, and this is entirely due to a bookmaker. Bookmakers have done so much for coursing recently, sponsoring the Champion Stakes in England. Thanks very much to the generosity of Pat Whelan. Alex Smith sponsored the Barbican Cup and helped out with the Anglia Cup. And in Ireland, Seamus Mulvaney and JP McManus, everybody's helping. And this year, Bernard Barry from Ireland has sponsored the Waterloo Cup. Bernard, can we have you forward, please? Thank you very, very much indeed. Thank you very much, Bernard. And Mrs. Barry being hustled in. Thank you both very, very much indeed, and they've been marvellous supporters of the game. And the winner of the Waterloo Cup is Mr. and Mrs. Michael Collins, Mousetrap. Yet another big. Many congratulations. And now Bernard Barry's going to put the Waterloo chain round Mrs. Collins' neck, surely the nicest trophy in any sporting event, 143 links. And there'll be another link on it very shortly. And Ian Forbes has done this marvellous trophy here, which Bernard's going to give to Michael Collins, and on it it's got William Lynn. We've got a lot to be grateful to him for. He founded both the Grand National and the Waterloo Cup, and I think he'd love to be here today. And Master McGrath the other side. Congratulations, Michael. And I think as June's got the chain round her neck, we'll give her the gold cup as well. June, could you turn around, please, and take the cup? Many, many congratulations. Thank you all very, very much indeed. We look forward to seeing you next year. Thank you very much for coming. Thank you.
Well, that wasn't such a bad meeting then, Charlie.
No, and a marvellous climax as well.
Yes. Was it a good final? I mean, I was badly positioned down in the shy.
Yeah, as usual. No, I mean, she led good 4 lengths. She's always going to lead. The Irish dog got in, had a couple of points before the sun, but there was never any doubt was going to be in it. That Mousetail was the one that...
And there was a bit of butterfingers, I think, after the first turn, wasn't there?
Yeah, she gave it a little nudge.
Yeah.
And then the hare had a chance, and she was away.
Charlie, through the meeting, what seemed to you to be, Waterloo Cup winners come and go, but what were the unlucky dogs that will fade from memory who might have been Waterloo winners?
Well, the dog that must be remembered, of course, in 1987 is poor old Glatton General, who in fact seemed to have Mousetail absolutely for dead after leading her a length. Then he got on to another hare. Mousetail was continued to be judged and was given the flag at the end of the course.
Was that a correct interpretation of the rules?
It's very difficult to say, and I think that only the judge can tell. And the rule on the second hare is quite explicit, that unless the dogs are level on points, if a second hare be started, and I think I'm quoting correctly, and then the flag should be pulled immediately.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, if you look in the previous 2 paragraphs, and I think this is one thing the judge had on his mind, there is something there about the question of when a dog, through his own fault, breaks off.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I thought Glatton General was very unlucky.
The judge took the view that the dog, it was the dog's fault that he got onto the second hare rather than bad luck.
That's right.
Yeah.
It was his own responsibility.
His own responsibility. And the crowds, Charlie, they seem to be flocking back, don't they?
They're enormous.
Yeah.
I mean, the first day, quite fantastic. The police gave it as 7,000 people. I mean, I wouldn't like to say. But, the second day at Lydiate even, the crowd stretched all the way down the ground from slips almost to the top of the field.
And the first time I've seen them having to stand on the old grandstand to look over the people in front.
That's right. I mean, when you think, 10 years ago, you and I stood down at Hill House, 1977, when Minnesota Yank won it. And how many people were there? How many people hung on to the end?
I think I counted 33 down at...
33 of us,
33,
and there was
wasn't
Minnesota Yank sprawled with cramp in the mud. My goodness, and he ran 4 courses on the last day and then finished up at Hill House to win the cup. And this is a different age now.
And a lot of people for the final day, when you think they only had 14 or 15 courses to watch.
Oh yes, this final day crowd, 10 or 15 years ago, this would have been a good crowd on the first day, leave alone the third day.
So a good meeting for coursing, a bad meeting for the League Against Cruel Sport.
Yeah, they've had a very bad drubbing this time, I think.
And the standard of coursing, Charlie?
Very good.
Yeah.
Very good. And also, the other encouraging thing for everyone, I think, and you can correct me here, first English owner-trained dog to win since Mutual Friend.
Yeah.
What was that, 1959?
59, something like that.
That ought to make us all go out and breed a few dogs and try again.
And bitches, Charlie.
Yeah,
We
can't
keep
stop them.
Waterloo Cup. When Tubbertelly Queen won, she was the first for about 30 or 40 years or
Yeah.
more. Why?
Well, they're bigger, of course. It's Irish bitches that we're talking about. Make no mistake about it. Mousetail, whom Jerry McCarthy reminds me, first, in fact, saw English soil on this field when she was handed over by breeder Brian Diverley to the Collinses as a sapling here at Altcar. And she is an Irish bitch, after all,
Yeah.
and typical Irish park bitch.
Yeah. And the dogs that disappointed you, Charlie, your sort of pet fancies that you were disappointed in?
Well,
Fantasy World, was she?
No, she's been lame.
Yeah.
She's been badly lame in the end of her 3rd season. One isn't surprised. Disappointed for poor old 1 to 7.
Yes.
He never even got on the field because they left the identity book at home. He would have run well, I'm sure.
Yeah. Well, so there we are. We've got to look forward to 1988.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Charlie. Super. Anyone who loves coursing, who loves the greyhound, with an interest in the hare, can't afford to be without the Waterloo Cup, the first 150 years. And it's £21.95. Send off with a postal order or cheque for £21.95 to Heath House Press, 1 The Green, Wamston, Hampshire, SO21 3LR. That's Heath House Press, 1 The Green, Wamston, WONSTON, Hampshire, SO21 3LR. Now you must come to the Waterloo Cup in 1988. It takes place on Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday, the 1st, 2nd and 3rd of March. There's going to be considerably improved prize money. The facilities have been completely renovated and there's going to be extra coursing on the 2nd day. Special rates for parties can be obtained by contacting the Secretary, Robin Moore, at 60 Welsh Row, Nantwich, Cheshire. His telephone number is 0244 21171. And if you need accommodation, from a 4-star hotel to bed and breakfast, contact the Southport Tourist Board at 0704 331 33. Make sure you come along. We look forward to seeing you there.
Egg collar, Bermuda's Prince.
The coursing had progressed merrily off just one drive, and the last 2 pairs were now needed to complete the first round of the Barbican Cup. Deer Park Jet on the white collar led Dora's debut on the red collar by 4 lengths, and they treated the crowd to a splendid working course.
Still on it. Go on. What is it?
swapping points throughout a trial lasting some 93 seconds. Judge Bob Burden followed closely before awarding the flag to the white-collar Deer Park Jet, who had led 4 lengths. The first round of the Barbican was then... The second round of the Barbican Cup was then completed when Deer Park Jet on the red collar, who'd been out for 93 seconds, met Glatton General on the white, who'd been out for 74. The hare came straight past the slipper's shy. And Glatton General on the white collar pulled away to lead by a length and a half. He was to enjoy the shortest course of the second round. It lasted only 36 seconds. Friend on the red collar had been out for 158 seconds and was to lead Deer Park Jet on the white, who'd been out for 129 seconds by a length. A course of just over a minute's duration was to follow. The two dogs exchanged points, so the lead was always going to prove decisive. And Judge Bob Burden had no hesitation in pulling for the red collar Bermuda's Prince. At the top of the field, before the cameraman had finished filming the last course, and Glatton General on the white collar, who'd been out for 49 seconds, had led Blackwater Swift, who'd been out for 51 seconds by 2.5 lengths. These two fast dogs just swapped points behind a quick hare. They got 50 seconds this course. But there were those considered before the Cup. He was on the white collar. He'd only been out for 18 seconds and met Blackwater Swift, who'd been out for 51. This could have been an interesting course, but Blackwater Swift veers off to the right and is unsighted, allowing Coley to course on alone in the early stages of the course, which only lasted 30 seconds in any case. Coley on the white collar was the winner. Run up for the Champion Puppy Cup at Newmarket after winning a trial stake at Rathcormac. Blackwater Swift on the red met Lollipop on the white. Lollipop had run up for the Bedford House Stakes at Huntingdon. Blackwater Swift made no mistake and led 3.5 lengths. He'd not impressed everybody with his working abilities at Newmarket on very firm ground, but he coursed a lot tighter here and never gave Lollipop a chance of retrieving the balance. The course lasted 51 seconds. An extremely fast and agile hare was always in control. Next in slips was the big outsider